good afternoon, good morning in case we have some people from US by any chance on the call. So today I would like to tell you a few words, spend with you some time to discuss usage of artificial intelligence within e-commerce. And that basically in terms of Magento 2 is corresponding to the usage of Magento recommendations extension. That is basically under the hood powered by the Adobe Sensei technology. So starting the session, I don't want to tell you how to do your things on the projects. I want to tell you how you can do some things to kind of like help the project to grow, to give some nice results to you as a project team, and if you are an owner of the e-commerce, so for you in that case to give better results of your shop, right? Yeah, a few words about myself. My name is Piotr Siejczuk. I'm a technical manager. On a project-based level, I'm working as an e-commerce solution architect. If you would like to drop me a question after the session or any later on, you can find me either on LinkedIn or Twitter under Piotr Siejczuk, right? I'm based from Warsaw, Poland. I'm working on daily basis at Accenture company. And some, let's say, fun facts or some interesting facts. I'm working with Magento since version 1.3, so that's a couple of years back. And I'm a certified Magento 2 solution specialist, right? And as we started, this presentation is going to be about artificial intelligence with Magento 2, and before we'll go into the details, I just want to tell you a few words about the agenda. So the first thing that I will tell you, we'll discuss is what is Adobe Sensei in the first place. So to talk about facts and remove some myths from the equation, because it's still the case that a lot of people are having a wrong understanding what Adobe Sensei actually is, right? And then I will tell you a few words why you should actually use artificial intelligence in your e-commerce project. The third thing that I would like to focus on is about the usage of this artificial intelligence component and how to basically kick off such implementation. Then I will try to share with you a few facts, few let's say information and tips about some obstacles we had, or like how to do things properly. And the last but not the least, it's basically generally about the usage and like what's the future of artificial intelligence usage in e-commerce, and what's the product recommendations roadmap that has been already partly confirmed by guys from Magento and Adobe team. So to describe what Adobe Sensei is, I will use a quote from the product owner of a senior product manager from Magento company, a product owner of this product recommendation feature at Magento. And that is basically that Adobe Sensei is a technology that powers intelligent features across all Adobe products to dramatically improve the design and delivery of digital experience using artificial intelligence and machine learning in a common framework. So basically what it states, in other words, is that Adobe Sensei within Adobe company itself is used in a lot of other, let's say, products or features that are provided by the company, right? In case of let's say our daily basis work in Magento, Adobe Sensei is powering and working under the hood of the product recommendations feature. And telling about that, so some facts about this product recommendations, what it is, what are some facts, some results that are that have been seen so far. So Officially, this feature by Adobe team has been released in April 2020, right? A few weeks before that date, it was in a beta stage. So there were some solution partners and some customers that could use it before as let's say, beta testers. But yeah, that's one of the facts. The other fact is that around 40 plus global sites are nowadays using a product recommendation feature. And there are some additional sites that are basically, let's say, in the first steps, in the first phases that would lead to the usage of this product recommendation extension. So right now we are just gathering some behavioral data that would later on allow them to basically provide relevant product recommendations, right? And probably you would ask me or anyone else why you should consider to basically implement this product recommendation feature from Magento. So based on those numbers, the 7 months, the sites that are already running the functionality, right? The numbers are as follows: that after implementation of it, the average order value of orders have increased by 25%, right? There's a 15% click-through ratio on product detail pages, where some recommendation units, recommendation widgets are basically implemented. There's 15 times bigger revenue for the product recommendation-based solution compared to other solutions that are on the market, right? And from some of those sites that are already using, especially in the US, the reports are stating that around $60,000 per month comes as a revenue from Adobe Sensei recommendations only, right? And I believe those numbers on the right hand side are basically the best reason why you should consider to implement such feature. Basically, if you are thinking about a world-class e-commerce, a world-class shop that you would like to present to your customers, this is for sure an extension, a feature that is worth to take in consideration. Okay, so let's jump to some next slides, some kickoff facts, some most important elements of this, right? As mentioned already, the feature has been released in April 2020. It is a special feature that is available for Magento Commerce merchants. And yes, this is not available in Magento open source, right? In terms of technical sides of it, it is available as a composer-based package, right? Or you can download it from Magento Marketplace as a standalone, let's say, archive, right? In terms of supported versions of Magento, it supports Magento 2.3.x and all the 2.4 newest versions, right? Not a surprise that it basically works on both on-premise version and on the cloud, Magento Cloud version. So this functionality, this extension itself comes without any additional cost. But of course, yes, to have it in your code base, you need to have a commerce license, right? Magento commerce license acquired. Without that, well, you won't be able to use it, right? It is as a kind of like an exception, it is also available for official solution partners, right? So if you are a Magento solution partner, you can play around with this functionality and basically do some proof of concept activities with it. So yes, that would be it in terms of some high level information about the implementation kickoff. Then I would like to tell you a bit about how it actually looks in terms of technical implementation of it. right? What the data and how this data is basically sent between systems, right? We typically have Magento as our, let's say, main part of the e-commerce, right? This is our storefront. There's some backend of this functionality as well, right? But then again, in case of usage of product recommendation, Magento is basically serving as a role of displaying information that is basically calculated and preserved by Adobe Sensei, right? So basically, as I mentioned, to allow the product recommendations to work correctly, you need to start using this extension. So it will basically be able to gather some behavioral data, and that basically means the engagement of the shoppers on your site, right? Like product views, items that the customers are adding to the cart, the orders they are placing. So it will basically be able to gather some relevant information that will be used under the hood to provide relevant recommendations. One thing which is probably worth to mention and highlight is the fact that basically Adobe Sensei, when it is collecting any data from your e-commerce system, it is not recording, not gathering any personal information. So in terms of GDPR or let's say relevant US-based laws, there's no data that is being gathered and is against those rules. So beside this behavioral type of data that the solution is gathering, there's also a typical catalog, product catalog type of information gathered, and that's basically product metadata such as name, price, or stock availability of the product, right? As I said, like you see a couple of blocks here, like how Magento is cooperating with Adobe Sensei here, right? But in long story short is that Magento is basically allowing Adobe Sensei to gather some relevant information. That data is basically sent over to Adobe Sensei software as a service, let's say platform block. There is some, let's say, calculation, artificial intelligence, and a machine learning algorithm used to calculate relevant outputs, and once that is being calculated, it is being sent back to Magento to basically show relevant products to the end user. And how to start to use it if you will decide to do that in the first place, right? I'm rather a fan of Composer rather than doing it old-fashioned, like zip file packages and so on, right? So as for the sake of this presentation, I used Composer-based installation guide, let's say, or let's say some quick highlight how to do it, right? So you see here in the first point how to basically install the product recommendation extension using Composer, right? The next thing you would have to do is to obtain relevant API keys from Magento account, from account.magento.com page, right? And you have to provide a set of 2 API keys, and then you have to choose relevant artificial intelligence software as a service instance, because this functionality allows you to basically, and I actually cut down one of the options from the drop down, sorry for that, because we are allowed to use 2 testing environments, like staging environments, and the third one is basically the production environment, right? So basically that means that we can have 2 testing environments, depending on your development model. You can use it on, for example, integration or pre-production, or however you call non-production instances, right? And the final usage would be on the production instance. And basically, by doing this in the configuration of the extensions, you are dividing how AI and how the Sensei is basically calculating that, gathering and calculating the data and providing relevant recommendations on the storefront. There's also, of course, one more important thing that you need to ensure that is running correctly, because as I mentioned, it is the recommendations are also based on product metadata. So there are some relevant cron jobs and product feed, basically cron jobs and indexers that are responsible to send over this information to Adobe Sensei. So in order to have most up-to-date and most relevant information shown on your page, you need to make sure that those crons and indexers are running smoothly and correctly. What else? So we are talking about Magento, right? And as it comes with all the modules in Magento, also in this one, there are some options for customizations. There are some limitations, but I will talk about it later on. I will first talk through some customization options, right? So one of the things that is possible to do is to customize out-of-the-box product recommendation user interface. In other words, how the template on the storefront looks like, right? The other option, which is optional, is to basically customize the layout values and where the product recommendation units are displayed on your storefront. Some details about it on the next slide, right? So in terms of the user interface customization and how those blocks, the product recommendation widgets are looking like on the front end, there was this path provided to this recommendations HTML file, right? So we can do everything we want with that template as always, right? But in order to make sure that the Adobe Sensei is going to work correctly, we need to keep those two tags that are mentioned on this table below, right? The first tag is basically responsible for collecting the views events within this recommendation widget template, and the second tag is responsible for all the click events corresponding to this widget. Well, a good thing about the product recommendation feature is that it has awesome documentation on DevDocs. So as this is brand new functionality, you will find a lot more details, a lot more technical specifications, what you can and what you cannot do on Magento DevDocs. So I highly recommend to take a look there as well, if I'm not gonna cover everything that you would like to see and hear. So this is about the user interface customization. And the other option, as mentioned, this is an optional one, right? You can basically customize the layout placement of this block, and there are five layout files that can be edited. And they are corresponding to relevant pages, right? So we have a category layout, which is responsible for the product listening page. We have the product view layout, which is responsible for the product detail page. We have also the cart layout, cart index layout file, which is responsible for the cart, right? Then checkout and homepage, right? So currently, out of the box, those are the storefront pages where you actually can incorporate the product recommendations. And on the next slide, I will tell you how briefly how it looks like to basically set up this recommendation unit within your back office. So basically, it is under marketing menu, and on this slide, I just showed like the details if it comes to setting up a new recommendation unit, right? So there are a couple of configurations that you need to set up, like some internal name, also a name that is displayed on the storefront. The storefront display label, which is basically here, right? Then if you scroll down within that configuration section, you have to select pages where you want where you want to display this recommendation unit, recommendation type, right? That you would like to display there. And one thing to highlight is that based on different pages, there are different recommendation types available. This is linked with the data that Adobe Sensei is gathering on the relevant pages, right? So sometimes it's not logical to display some recommendation units on let's say homepage, or in other case it's not logical to display some recommendations on the cart, which if they are not relevant to that page that you're viewing. And for the sake of the example here, I just showed that the configuration has been set up for the PDP page, and the recommendation unit that was chosen is the customer also viewed, right? So this is how this blog looks like on the PDP page itself.
Piotr, sorry to interrupt you. Your presentation will wrap up in about 3 minutes, so please prepare to wrap up.
Yep, thank you for that. So I will probably skip then this one because you can find this in the documentation. I would like to tell you a few words about limitations. There are some limitations, and probably the most important one is that currently the product recommendation feature has limited support of the B2B component of Magento. And as such, for example, customer segments or dedicated price books, shared catalog configurations are not applied to product recommendations. Beside that, there is no customer grouped pricing feature available for the recommendation units. The bundle and grouped products, they won't be shown in the product recommendation widgets. Also, the category permissions are not taken in consideration if it comes to displaying this widget. So it means that sometimes users can see products that are not necessarily available for them to buy. And within the era of the PWA, progressive web apps, and headless approaches to e-commerce, unfortunately, for the time being, product recommendations are not supporting that. But about this, I will tell you on the next slides. So some short-term roadmap, some of those things are basically already confirmed. There's a already done page builder integration, so you can use product recommendations, put the product recommendation widgets, units through the page builder on your site. And I gave you the installation command through Composer. There's also a new feature which sounds pretty cool and might be interesting to be used for some types of businesses. There's visual artificial intelligence recommendations, which is currently in the beta phase. And basically that allows to provide some recommendations based on visual characteristics like shape, color, texture, material. But this is more on let's say pure physical data from your catalog, right? And what is more, I know that the team at Magento and Adobe are working on providing some catalog synchronization dashboard. So basically you will be able to see and track what type of data has been sent to Adobe Sensei and have some reporting possibilities out of that. They are also working on more flexibility and additional filters for the recommendation units. Currently, let's say if it comes to exclusion of some elements, it is possible to exclude some categories from our AI, let's say, data gathering logic, but that is limited to 30 categories, right? But that allows you to basically potentially remove some products from being recommended. If it comes to a long run roadmap, I know that the product recommendation team is working on support for PWA and headless. The problem there is that it is totally different if it comes to data gathering, the behavioral data gathering, so it takes time, right? They are also working, which is also something that one of my clients is asking, to basically provide some third-party data source to Adobe Sensei, and based on that data to provide relevant recommendations. The B2B, whole the B2B package is going to be supported at some point. They are also working on providing product recommendations in transactional emails. And in probably even longer time, the team at Magento and Adobe is looking to provide more personalized and artificial intelligence driven search. So probably even more extend the functionality and possibilities of Elasticsearch to inject more relevant data there. And a cool feature that I've seen that they are considering to work on is category sorting based on the personalized information from Adobe Sensei. So basically, based on your behavior, or let's say behavior from customers from a similar group that you do belong to, you may get personalized, let's say, sort order of category views and potentially some additional elements in PDPs. And I hope I'm still in time, because this is everything that I had to tell today. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them now.
Thank you, Piotr, for the great presentation. We actually have time for the Q&A. We have like 8 minutes. Sorry, I've interrupted you 5 minutes earlier than I should.
No worries.
So there was a question from Metro about the PWA and the Adobe Sensei product recommendations, but I think it is covered. Metro, please correct me if I'm wrong. There were a couple more questions related to PWA in his message. So for now, let's switch to Sergey questions. And what do you think, for which website this functionality is mostly fit? Is there any sense if product catalog doesn't exceed 100 products or so?
Well, of course, if your product catalog is, let's say, below 100 products, then you may start to consider if it is relevant to use it, right? But then again, I'm a type of a person that if I do not need to do too much at my work, I will rather try to automate this, right? So even if you have 100 products in your catalog, right, as a business owner, you will probably still like to highlight some products more than the others, and based on some relevant facts and information, right? And Adobe Sensei does that for you without any extra effort, right? So you just set up those recommendation units once, and they will, refresh the data and products displayed there automatically, right? You don't have to spend time on it. So, you can just gain things. You don't really lose much if you will implement it. It's pretty much plug and play. I mean, you may want to adjust it somehow, but it gives a lot of benefits already with the out-of-the-box flows of the extension. I hope that answers. And if it comes to the types of businesses, I mean, your imagination is the limit, I would say here. Probably there are more relevant industry areas that would use it, like, I don't know, for example, fashion-based shops, or somehow luxury jewelry-based shops. But probably if you are selling things like from the food industry, you will find the benefits of using this as well.
Thank you for the answer, Piotr. And probably forwarding that one, I am the Adobe Sensei is a software as a service itself,
Yes.
and we have a free extension for Magento, which is actually using the resources of Adobe Sensei, and it is free of charge in terms you have the commerce license or cloud license. But is there any additional cost for the usage of the Adobe Sensei resources itself, or is it built in the price of the commerce?
No, so yeah, I basically asked similar questions to the product owner when I was working with him initially on this, right? So there's no additional cost. As long as you have the commerce license or the cloud license, you can get the extension, you can install it, configure it, and it's gonna work for you out of the box, right? Because in a lot of cases I'm a performance freak, right? So my question was that where is the Adobe Sensei software as a service hosting done, right? And I do know that currently it is being hosted out of US. Don't really know exact location of the data center, right? But even with that, there are customers using this functionality in Europe and in some other parts of the world. And the latency of getting this data back from Adobe Sensei is super low. I believe I still have to run the performance test myself, but based on my talks, it is something between 200 milliseconds time to get those results, right? So yeah, there's no extra cost. Just take it. If you paid for the commerce license, just take it, use it. It's for free, and I think you can gain more than you will not lose anything. You can just gain. Based on the numbers I showed. All the pages that are using it in production, they are reporting, increase revenue, increase number of average order value, and so on. So, take it and be happy with the usage of it.
Thank you. And following that up, we have this similar question from Gentian. Hope I spelled that correctly. And he also asks if you aware of the Nostro service and what is the difference between the Nostro and Adobe Sensei, if you're
Well, I mean, on the high level, I do know Nostro. It's not that I used it. I had a chance to use it in my project experience, but overall, the idea is probably the same, right? But there's much more, power behind Adobe Sensei and relevant data science teams working on it, trying to figure out new ways how to use it in your solutions, right? So probably that's the biggest benefit. And if you will potentially, like in case of some bigger players using some additional Adobe components, I would say that potentially the data and recommendations given by Adobe Sensei can be based not only on your e-commerce solution, but if you're using also some other tools, some other elements from Adobe stack, I guess at some point Adobe Sensei will gather information from all of those services, combine it together, and based on machine learning and other artificial intelligence algorithms, will combine this data together to give you more relevant recommendations. I see there was also a question from Łukasz.
Yeah, but I was about to switch to it. He asks, what's your greatest and most painful experience regarding the product recommendations?
Well, mine is that I'm super, let's say, positive about it. But the problem is that I'm working more in most cases in the last days, weeks, and months on project based on B2B selling model, right? And as I mentioned, the B2B is not, let's say, fully covered and supported by Adobe Sensei, right? Other than that, if it comes to communication with the product owner of this functionality, if there's anything, I can shoot him an email, I can drop him a message, a question on Slack or on Twitter. He's responding, you know, almost immediately. Of course, due to the time differences between Europe and US, that sometimes takes a moment, but generally speaking, I'm getting relevant answers in like within a day or two maximum.
Thank you, Piotr. Thank you all for joining this session and all of your questions. There's one additional question about the Adobe Sensei API, but I hope Piotr will be able to answer it in chat. The presentation is being recorded and will be available on YouTube after the event. In case you didn't get the answer to your question, feel free to reach out to Piotr during the networking time at the chat rooms. Now all of you have 5 minutes to switch to the next session you will attend. Late not to miss.
Thank you very much, guys, for your time and listening to my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a nice rest of the time on other presentations. Cheers. Bye-bye.